this is getting interesting. I want us to shift to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
To leadership. And there's a comment already. Let me pick that comment. Stephen is saying that my take for the day so far, I'm sure you have a lot to take away, is to cause a change, create a lot of people who think like you. I'm very touched. Thank you very much, Stephen, for that. We are warming up. Now we are shifting into leadership. So, Prof, what is your concept of leadership when you look at leadership? The last time I saw you in a leadership function was at the launch of Take's book. So I get the opportunity before your book on leadership comes out to pick your mind. What is your own concept of leadership?
Yeah, that book is a great book. I recommend it to anyone. If you have the time, you can just put the title and the author in the chat so people can read it. Anyone who reads that book would experience a certain amount of transformation. But to your question, leadership for me carries at least 4 ingredients. The first is vision. The first is vision. Leaders are visionaries. It means that they are dreamers. And if you don't have a dream, you cannot be a leader. If your only capacity is to do, you are not a leader, you are a manager. So leadership is about vision. So a good leader is one who has clarity of vision. And that clarity of vision arises from a scan of the environment and a process of co-creation with stakeholders. So a leader must be visionary, but that vision must not just be a crazy idea in their heads. It must be based on an environmental scan. If you're a leader today in Ghana, you have to situate your vision within the context of a falling city, a troubled economy, a world economy where consumer prices and inflation is going up. So that's the environment within which you have to craft your vision. So that's the first thing. A leader must be visionary and must be able to craft a vision based on an environmental scan and co-creation with stakeholders. You cannot develop a proper vision without creating it with the stakeholders for whose benefit that vision is being crafted. When I became dean, the first thing I did was to have one-on-one meetings with all the staff. And we're talking about, at that time, about 80 people. One-on-one. Some I spent a couple of hours with, some I spent 1 hour with, some I spent 30 minutes with. And if I tell you the information I got from the cleaners, you'll be amazed. When we finally developed our vision, the whole of the section 5 of that vision was based on information I got from the cleaners and the other workers. Because section 5 is on welfare. So that's the first thing about leadership. You have to have the capacity to be visionary. And that vision must be situated within a proper environmental scan and must be co-created with your constituents. The second thing about leadership is to be able to communicate the vision effectively. If you don't communicate the vision effectively, it will remain in your head. And chances of it materializing will be very low. The third thing about leadership is to be able to build the trust in your constituents that makes them capable of following you as you lead on the vision. If you're not able to go to this third step, you would have a vision, you would have communicated it, but nothing will be done. And the fourth and last thing as a leader is to have a very big heart. You can never carry everybody along. Some people are going to stay back. And there are different categories of these people. There are those who don't believe in you as a leader. There are those who don't believe in your vision. There are those who don't believe that the vision is right. There are those who don't believe that the vision is doable. There are those who set out to disrupt the vision. So you have to have a big heart to be able to lead in the face of naysayers and disruptive forces and counterproductive actions. So these are the four things of, I'm not saying that I have all these qualities. I mean, I know myself. I know that I have the first quality. I'm able to create a vision within the environmental scan and with stakeholder input. But the other three I struggle with. I struggle with communicating my vision effectively. I struggle with building the trust that you need to lead in the implementation of the vision. And I struggle with having a big heart to contain even people who are frustrating the vision, because sometimes I get really upset that people would be doing things that negatively affect the common view when all they needed to do is just like, don't do anything. If you can't help, just don't be disruptive. But this is life. You have all those kind of people around.
Interesting. Prof, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing these with us. If you asked me, and I was going to score based on what I observed, I would have said you have all four. I mean, where the ability to co-create with others, I have seen that. When I was working for you, I saw how you, one of the things that I remember most from that experience, serving as a research assistant for you, was how you got me in particular to improve on my reports, that task culture report, by just making all the other reports available and asking us, look at the others and see how you can improve on yours. That statement alone meant so much to me, going back to dig into there were some comments that I had taken for granted, some statements the people I had spoken to had said, and I didn't think it was necessary to put in, and I saw others capturing some of that. I said, oh, I have the notes, I have the information. So if you asked me, I would have said you score very high there. Communication, with all the lectures you have given that I've heard, that I've listened to, powerful lectures on different platforms, and how you're able to communicate what you want to communicate. Can you imagine? And just everyone that encounters you trusts you. The big hearts, it's there. By God's grace, your body size is okay, but the heart is bigger than the body that we see on our screen right now. But we are grateful. Friends, if you are just joining, we have Prof Raymond Atuguba with us, sharing his life and sharing his experiences with us. He just gave us his concept of leadership, and he says it comes to 4 ingredients, and he shared those 4 ingredients with us. The very first one is vision, is vision. And if you don't have a vision as an individual, this should encourage you. This should encourage you to begin to think about, what am I contributing? What change am I bringing? How am I making any impact in the space where I find myself? And he says that if your only capacity is to do, this is one of the quotes that I have picked. If your only capacity is to do, you are not a leader, but a manager. If you can't envision, if you can't dream, he says, then you are not a leader. You are just a manager. You are just taking care. And so you are just a manager. And if you want to do that, maybe you are asking yourself, how do I get vision? How do I come out and co-create? Or how do I design a vision for the space where I'm working or the family that I have? He says, scan the environment. What is happening in the environment now will give you some clues as to where to focus and to give attention to. And then remember to co-create that, get others involved, and the people who are in that environment that you find yourself, the other stakeholders, co-create the vision with them. It allows them to come along with you. And number two, it says communicate the vision effectively. Communicate it effectively. Number three, build trust in your constituents, the people who are working with you, the people that you are leading. Make sure that you build trust in them. The trust is something that he says should make it possible, make it possible for them to follow you, allow them to be capable of following you because they trust you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to follow you. One of the statements I heard some time ago, someone says, this person, if he says look down, look up. If he says look up, look down. If people don't trust you, they're not going to follow you. Where are they going to follow you to? And then number four, you need to have a big heart. You need to have a Professor Raymond Atuguba kind of heart. You need a heart that is able to lead, that is able to lead others and to bring them to the place where you feel led to bring them to. So, Prof, thank you very much. This concept of leadership that you have shared with us. So, what are some of the leadership traits or styles? How do you approach your leadership? What are some of the traits that have marked or characterized your leadership life? And if you can share with us, how did you arrive at those things, and how did you choose those things?
Well, I have a number of leadership mentors. I mean, it's a long list. It's a long list, starting with Jesus Christ.
Okay.
The one thing I learned from the style of leadership of Jesus Christ is that you don't need too much time to set a vision and have it rolled out. Jesus' mission on earth was for 3 years. And by the end of those 3 years, he had 12 apostles, he had disciples, and look how the whole world has been infected and energized by his legacy. So that's the first thing. And for most of the key things I have done, I normally do them in 2 to 3 years. And when I'm leaving, people complain that I'm leaving, but the thing is, I never intended to stay that long anyway. So it's by design that I go in for 2, 3 years and then I'm gone, because it's about setting the vision and making sure that it's clear, and you can never get the vision implemented the way you want it implemented. But it doesn't have to be, because you are not God. You know, if people criticize a lot our work at the Constitution Review Commission, but for me, that 1,000-page document is the vision for how Ghana should be run. So the vision is there. You can take it any day and implement a part of it or the whole of it. But to set it and then stay for decades trying to implement it, I think it's not the best. It then becomes almost personalized. So that's the first thing I learned from Jesus Christ, that once you set the vision and you train the people that should carry it on, your job is done. Get up and leave. You know, And we have so many instances in Ghana where people are stuck in places for 15 years, you know, doing the same thing, not wanting anybody to take over. I think it's not the best. The second leadership trait I learned is from Nelson Mandela, his humility. Nelson Mandela had a capacity to connect with people in a very human way. And if you read his book, Long Walk to Freedom, you can see how he did that even in prison settings. His relationships with prison wardens, even people that were doing bad things to him. Even after during the apartheid struggle, before his arrest, during his trial and all that, you could see that he was down to earth and very humble. Even when he was president, if you hear some of the stories that people told when he was president, it's amazing. And the way in which he related even to some people who tortured him when he was in prison after he became president. Really amazing stories. We don't have much time to narrate them. But the second is humility, which, as I said, I learned from Nelson Mandela. And there are so many people that I've learned leadership traits from. Too many to list and discuss here.
When it comes to leadership, when it comes to your leadership, what are the values? What are the things that you hold dear that helps to keep you in balance so far as leading is concerned?
So I think it's really one value, I think. It's the concept of human dignity. Human dignity means a lot. Human dignity means that you should value human beings no matter who they are and no matter their station in life. And this is something that Ghanaians need to refocus on. I was telling a story the other time. 2 weeks, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, I dressed in a trousers and a shirt. And then I went to a certain office on the Legon campus. As I was passing by, the security man was sitting, he bent his head like this, he was relaxing, just looking at me passing by. So I greeted him, he ignored me, and then I passed. A few days later, I went to open our conference at the law school on data protection. And then I was in suit and tie. And then when I was passing this same building, this same security man, he jumped up, stood at attention, saluted. So Daniel, it's the same human being, the same type of everything else is constant, except that on the first day I was in trousers and shirts and sandals, and the second day I was in shoes and suits. You know,
wow.
So this person, he discriminates amongst people according to his perception of who they are by virtue of how they dress. That doesn't accord with the principle of human dignity. Human dignity means that every person who has the breath of life in them is a full human being who deserves the same amount of rights, the same amount of respect that the next person deserves. Even if one is in suit and the other is in chalawate and jeans and t-shirt. I'll tell you another interesting story. One time I was, my dad's car, Datsun 120Y,
One of your favorites.
That's one of my favorite cars. It's parked somewhere in Nima now. I have to get it repaired soon and back on the road. I drove this car to British Council once, and when I was going to enter British Council with the car, the security people stopped me in a very rough manner. Said, no, you can't enter here. You can't enter here. So I asked them, why can't I enter here? They said, no, there's a public lecture going to take place here. You can't come in here. And I could tell that it was just because of my car. So I said, what public lecture? They said, oh, Dr. Atuguba is supposed to give a public lecture here today.
I see.
So I told him, I am Dr. Atuguba.
The career of the lecture.
He rushes, opens the gate, then I pass him. My dad said, you know, I don't know where we got that thing from. That we should judge people and offer them respect or help or assistance or even a simple greeting based on the way they dress, based on the titles behind their names. It's a really, excuse me, it's a primitive way of behaving. And that then fuels a certain system in our society where people steal and kill and maim in order to buy big cars and live in big houses and wear three-piece suits, because that's the only way that the society knows to respect them and to offer them a greeting or whatever. So it's messing up our society. It's messing up our society big time. We are not placing value on the things that we should value. We are placing huge value on things that we should not value. Why should you, in 42 degrees Celsius, be wearing a suit in the first place? You should rather be laughing at those people because they're not, excuse me to say, they're not really thinking right. You are in a situation where doomsday happens, the lights can go off, so you're in your three-piece suit with your necktie and everything, and then the lights go off. What are you going to do? Sit there sweating through the rest of the day? Or what? You know, if you like to wear suits, yes, wear them. If you're in an environment where the lights don't go off, you have a nice air-conditioned office, yes, wear them. But it's not everybody who likes to wear suits. It's not everybody who thinks that you should be wearing suits at 40 degrees. And you should not disrespect people, mistreat them, or treat them with less regard just because they belong to the category of people who don't want to wear suits. I hope I'm communicating well and not being sounding like a communist.
It's humbling to listen to the whole concept of human dignity. It's huge. It's huge. As you were sharing, I'm just thinking about some of the things that we do that, and I'm talking about we as Ghanaians, people in this country. I've not lived outside the country that much, so I can't speak to what others do. But what we do in Ghana, that makes me wonder whether we value human dignity, that we place value on human beings, just for the fact that they are human beings, first and foremost, and not looking at what title or what accolade or whatever status symbols that they have. And I'm particularly touched by the aspect that you connect, that it's one of the things that is swelling the corruption and all the illegal things that we have in the environment, because people want to be valued. And we have created a system where you need certain status symbols for you to be appreciated in society. So why will people listen when you ask them not to do galamsey or illegal mining when they can get some money and get some things for themselves, and then they gain some respectability in society. And these things, it's a serious matter you have raised, Prof. It's a serious matter. I don't know. If we were just going to dwell on this alone, if this was for all of us on this platform now, if we're just going to take this away and see how can I, as an individual, and you don't need much to do this, show people respect for being first and foremost a human being. It doesn't matter the work they do. It doesn't matter the car they drive. It doesn't matter the type of clothing they are wearing. Once they are a human being, they deserve a certain amount of respect and dignity. And if we're going to do that, people, it will reduce the kind of burden we are putting on ourselves. And all the consumption we have around, and all the things that we acquire and stuff our rooms with that we don't even use, stuff our houses with, we don't even use. Prof, this is huge. This is huge. Thank you for sharing that with us.